and welcome back to Come Geek Some. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe for all future content. We have all said it from the get-go. Disney, when they bought Lucasfilm, so obviously the rights to Indiana Jones, Star Wars and everything else, it wasn't about creating a lasting legacy. What they were doing, they were literally just buying it so they could make more money, and they didn't care how they'd done the films. Well, we have a report here which is actually very, very interesting, and the report actually comes from the Wall Street Journal. So obviously a very reputable and a very high-powered position in all of the world. And it's very interesting, this is now, because so it goes into great detail regarding Alan Horn, and that the Wall Street Journal has a source, or they did have a source, inside a meeting with Alan Horn and everyone else when they first pitched BB-8 for The Force Awakens. So I'm going to be reading this though from Bounding in the Comics. I will leave the link below, so we're going to get straight into it. Report: Disney mandated Star Wars filmmakers to disguise toy ideas as organic film characters. A new report details that Disney's Alan Horn mandated Star Wars filmmakers to disguise toy ideas as organic film characters. The report comes from the Wall Street Journal, who had a source inside a meeting with Alan Horn when they first pitched him BB-8 from The Force Awakens. The Wall Street Journal details that Horn loved the idea of BB-8, especially the merchandise sales that he could generate. However, he also made it clear that these new characters could never be seen by filmgoers as merchandise and toy ideas. So, the Wall Street Journal's Eric Schwartzel, I hope I'm saying that right, if I'm not I do apologise, and R.T. Watson detail, but Mr. Horn had a note for the filmmakers. While Disney wanted to sell millions of toys, fans could never sense that any character or plot point was conceived as a business decision. They also added, any whiff of marketing imperatives driving the creative decisions on the Star Wars franchise would immediately, in the eyes of devoted fans, cast Disney as the evil empire that had gobbled up their beloved modern-day myth. And this is very true, because the biggest difference between the sequel trilogies and the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy is that the original trilogy is timeless. No doubt about it. You could still make toys for them for decades and people will still buy them. However, with the sequel trilogy, they haven't exactly sold that much merchandise for it. For The Mandalorian, they didn't bring out any of Baby Yoda, which again, I've read that Jon Favreau didn't want it out there because he didn't want it spoiled, which is fair enough. But then again, when you look at that, you think, well, America, Canada and Amsterdam, they're the only ones in the world who had The Mandalorian before anyone else. The rest of Europe and the rest of the world, we don't get it until the 31st of March next year. That's a good 6 months. And the funniest thing is, everyone knows now about Baby Yoda. People have watched the episodes either via VPN or illegal downloading, and it's there, so it's spoiled the surprise. Not only did Horn reportedly mandate the filmmakers that they would disguise these business decisions as part of an organic story, but the casting decisions behind the film were also reportedly politically motivated. Again, we've talked about this before. They've literally only catered to certain people, and they're trying to get those people around the world to feel inclusive. But again, it doesn't matter about people's skin colour, race, no matter what, sexual orientation, doesn't matter about any of that. You just pick the best actor for the job, no matter what. That's what you do. Mr. Horn, the Disney studio chief and Lucasfilm executives have sought to diversify the cast to meet contemporary audiences' expectations, and also in a nod to the reality of a global marketplace where a majority of box office grosses come from overseas. In fact, former Lucasfilm executive Howard Rothman told the WSJ that Star Wars is political in a sense that it is a foundation in historical politics, the rise of dictatorships, the death of democracy, but it has never tried to take a stand on present-day issues. He would add that some viewers attribute contemporary motives to the content. However, it's unclear if they've actually achieved these new fans, as the Wall Street Journal reports that Disney Star Wars films have seen diminishing returns at the box office, which is very true. We have seen them go from billions of dollars down to $381 million, which for a film that cost $300 million, it's one of the biggest losses ever. So The Force Awakens, it earned $936.6 million at the domestic box office. Rogue One earned $532 million, The Last Jedi earned $620 million, and Solo, A Star Wars Story, only earned $213.8 million. Which, when you look at it like that, I think that's funny, because The Force Awakens, yes, it is a rehash of A New Hope, literally story beat for story beat, but I actually really enjoyed The Force Awakens. Rogue One, absolutely love Rogue One, such a good film. But then The Last Jedi came out, and even though it earned $1.3 billion at the box office, which is still, I think it's like $700 million less than The Force Awakens, I think that's mostly because of word of mouth, because one, it was a little bit too long, and some of the ideas and some of the story writing in it was just rubbish. But according to this report now, we can see why. Because they were literally catering to people who don't even watch these films. That's the problem. And obviously then Solo, which I completely skipped Solo at the theatres, even though I watched it when it came on TV, and I actually enjoyed it. And I was a bit gutted I never actually went and saw it in the cinema. But again, no, that's because The Last Jedi, it burned so many fans of this franchise. Because, again, when you have the director and the actual president of the company that made it come out, and they're saying, oh, well, we don't care what you think, you just go and cry, and they're making fun of their fans. That's not what you do. That's not how you get these fans to come in and watch the new film. It's like recently, Lucasfilm and Disney released the last trailer for the Rise of Skywalker. And don't get me wrong, it's an absolute blinder of a trailer. It's absolutely incredible. But they're trying to cater now to the old fans to try and get them back, because they know it's not going to make The Force Awakens money. I'm not even sure it's going to make The Last Jedi money. It may make $1 billion, it may make $1.1 billion at most. If it makes any more than that, great for them. But if they want to make The Force Awakens money, so $2 billion out and all this, I really can't see it happening, because they have catered to people who don't even watch the franchise. And the people who do watch the franchise, they don't even care that it's coming to an end. This is the problem. So I'm going to carry on. Disney Star Wars wants you to watch The Force Awakens in 10 years. Unfortunately, due to its relevancy, it will be dated, and people won't want to watch it as much. The reason Star Wars has lasted as long as it has, as I've said before, it's timeless, which is absolutely true. Because even though it's got politics in, the original, and even the prequel trilogy to an extent, it's, when you watch them, it can relate, we've seen that happen, this has happened, But when you're, like, say, with a sequel trilogy, trying to bring in, again, a lot of people are against Donald Trump, or they're against Hillary Clinton's side or whatever. Here in the UK, it's Labour against the Tories, and each other vice versa, or whatever. You can't bring those sort of things into a myth like this. Past history you can, it works. But for modern day and bringing that kind of thing, modern times into a movie like Star Wars, it doesn't work. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell for future updates, and I'll see all you wonderful people soon.